Okay, I think we are on live. Let me get the TikTok folks on. We are on live. Let me get the TikTok folks on. Oops.
You might have your YouTube on. If you close your YouTube, you'll be good.
Okay, let me get the YouTube stuff off.
You might have your YouTube on. If you close your YouTube, you'll be good.
Okay, let me get the YouTube stuff off.
Your YouTube, you'll be good.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. So we got StreamYard.
Yeah, StreamYard should be the only one that's up right now.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, is that working?
Yeah, I don't hear an echo.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hi, TikTok. We are going live again, like every Sunday. Me and Parham Tola. We are on the YouTube channel, Dr. B Addiction Recovery. Our kickoff topic to generate discussion is, I think it's sex trafficking and substance abuse. You go to the YouTube channel and you can come on live, ask any questions. We're not going to answer any questions on TikTok, but I just simply have it on live. Hi, Parham. How are you?
What's going on, Dr. B? I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much. Looking forward to another few hours with you and everybody else that's going to join us.
Just so you guys know, we usually go about 2 hours, hour and a half today. I got to go because I promised the patient family I'm going to just talk to them today. But anyways, we have an hour and a half. And looks like guys are already coming on YouTube and TikTok is on again. Hey, TikTok guys, go over to the YouTube channel. Hey, everybody, if you're new, please click the like and subscribe. We appreciate it. And hopefully we get some people on here today. Parham, so let's talk about this. The way this came about, I guess, is, and I guess I can talk about this. It's not. There's a young lady that we were trying to get into, or we are trying to get into treatment, and Nicole knows more about it. And she has a pimp, and we were trying to get her free from the pimp. And I've ran into this a few times where people have reached out to me and get her out here and get her on a plane. And I think, and Nicole could tell us more about it, I think the pimp sort of intervened and mitigated our efforts. So if you want to if you'd like to start off on this topic, I have a lot to say. I won't say it all today, maybe another show, but give me your thoughts on this.
Sure, man. I mean, this is a heavy topic, so my heart goes out to that woman that was, trying to do her best to get out the treatment to hopefully change her life, and unfortunately, due to her circumstance and situation, she was unable to. There's a lot of human beings like her, and it's not always just females. This is big in the male community. It's big in the LGBT community. And, sex trafficking and substance abuse, they go hand in hand. So I know this is a heavy topic, but I'm actually grateful to have the opportunity to have a voice in this conversation, because the human beings that we're talking about, the marginalized, exploited human beings, actually don't have their own voice in this conversation. So us and whoever's watching this, hopefully we can collectively have a discussion that sparks some engagement and some movement. So if you're wondering just in general, why human trafficking and substance abuse, one of the easiest forms of recruitment is finding individuals who are addicted. So when someone is addicted to a substance, let's just call it opiates, the amount of control someone can have on that human being is, the leverage they can have on that human being is significant, because with consequences, with rewards, with keeping someone under the influence, and then also the user themselves, the person that's being exploited, they tend to use more substances to deal with the compound trauma that they're experiencing. So this vicious cycle is something that is really hard to get out. But the main thing that I wanted to talk about today, I just want to talk about some of the risk factors of the people that are, highly risk factors for getting caught up into this system. Because first of all, it's the youth. The younger you are, the more susceptible you are to get into trafficking. There's some research and data statistics out there that is, between the ages of 12 and 14 is a primary age for sex trafficking. This is worldwide numbers. And by the way, it's $150 billion a year, billion with a B, a year industry. It's, after illicit drugs. And that just, I don't know where they come up with those statistics, but those numbers are really alarming to me. A history of child abuse, childhood trauma, we talk about it every week, Dr. B. If you've had those risk factors, if you've those adverse childhood experiences, prior experiences in welfare, with the system, poverty, unemployment, family backgrounds, that there's a lot of violence inside of them, that the child needs to run away from home and find shelter and freedom and peace, homelessness, a need to be loved, and also immigration status. I don't want to minimize that one, because a lot of people out of fear of, deportation or leaving a country that might have been really hostile and chaotic, they get caught up in this, in drug use. So I know, Dr. B, one of the reasons why I respect you and like you as a human being, not just as a clinician, is because your whole mission in life is to serve the marginalized, is to treat the people that otherwise might not be able to be treated. I had the privilege of coming to your facility maybe 2-3 months ago, and I was blown away with the fact that the general population that was lining up there and showing up there were people that were living off the streets, that were there to receive some services regarding, safe needle exchange. And these are people that in traditional treatment centers won't even be able to get through the door. And your whole mission was to help out these marginalized. And by the way, a lot of those females that are coming to places like that, when they're not in your care, God knows what's happening to them when they're back out in the streets, and what they're enduring and going through to go by each day. So the last thing I had that I kind of just wanted to see was, human trafficking. There's overlap with other crimes, and some of that, sexual assault is something that's really, really significant in this population. I've had I can't say the privilege, I've had because of what we do, I've worked with females and males after a sexual assault, and it really breaks my heart to see what that human being had to go through. And, I've been to court actually as a court liaison to stand up and advocate on their behalf. And, there's a lot of stuff with unstable mental health. The younger they are, the amount of trauma, the complex post-traumatic stress disorder, turning into personality disorders and all that kind of stuff. Labor exploitation, it's like labor is a whole different type of human trafficking. Sometimes it's not even rooted with sex, but oftentimes sex trafficking is a type of labor. Literacy, a lot of times they don't have the education to get out under where they're at. Poverty, homelessness, runaway youth, drug use. So it's like, this is a multifaceted phenomenon, and this is primarily, I just wanted to speak on that, and to be able to say that, I've watched people come into treatment saying that they've pimped out their children for drugs. A mom and dad that, they love their kids so much that they said that they sold their child for methamphetamines, or sold their child for heroin to random people that would come through. And those are the moments that I really question, hey, do I really want to be in this field? Do I want to work this closely with something that's this painful? But also at the same time, it's like, hey, if not us, then who? If we're not going to be the voice for this, then who? So that's what I had there, Dr. B. And later on, if we have the time, we can also talk about the human trafficking that happens in certain type of treatment facilities, when it comes to, there might not be a sexual component to it, but they are still exploiting human beings that are struggling with addictions, taking them through various lengths of, levels of care, and getting them high and getting them loaded and sending them back into treatment, which is a form of human trafficking that is also, Congress stepped up and did something about that too. So that's what I had to open it up. I know it's a heavy topic, but I really do want to hear what you have to say, and I'll be looking on the side chats too.
Yeah, thank you. It's interesting because this particular topic, all of these topics that I deal with, I always tell people, they tell, what have you seen in your career? And I've seen over 40,000 patients. And in my old hat I used to wear, there's nothing traumatic that I haven't seen. And for some reason, it just doesn't affect me in any way, shape, or form. And I can be professional, compassionate, and take care of business. For some reason, the issue of marginalized, and for me, I think what that means is when a human being is stripped of their autonomous human rights, universal human rights, which includes substance abuse, females, immigrants, people with mental handicaps. It just really, for whatever reason, and then maybe my therapist can explore this, it really, really affects me, and I find it. There's a sense of justice issue that comes about. So this topic is a little difficult for me to deal with because it spans a lot. I agree with everything you said. I'm going to add a little formalization and meat to it in that way. So let's break something down for everybody out there. So we're talking about sex trafficking. And then from there, it can go to international or U.S. We'll try and keep it in the U.S. in sex trafficking. Then we can break it down into the issue of minors. But above sex trafficking, the concept of human trafficking is the umbrella term. And I actually expanded further than that. And I call it human slavery, because there's a lot of psychological events or interactions that happen with someone who is marginalized or has complex PTSD, that they fall under abuse and control and further damage because of that. So overall, I call it all, human enslavement, okay, and abuse. And in fact, Stockholm syndrome, which everyone knows about. If those don't, it's usually referred to the issue of you're in a hostage crisis and you find a hostage taker to be endearing and you protect them and so forth. If you expand that, there's been a lot of psychological theory discussions about how that plays a role in this human enslavement sort of construct. So that's one thing I want to say. Number two, although we'll try and keep it to in the U.S. sex trafficking and substance abuse, I do not take the rest of this big enchilada as not important. I find that some of it is so subtle that whether it's the legal system or the mental health system, it's often overlooked. And a lot of, I think, my followers on TikTok fall within that framework, very, very marginalized people with very few tools to reach out and nobody listening. And the way it has manifested is through substance abuse. Finally, the last one of the other things I want to say before I sort of say a little bit more is I feel and I believe like substance abuse, the approach to this group or cohort of the population, the victims of this, has always, for the most part, been law enforcement, which is it's not a bad thing. They're trying to get these people out and get them into. And I firmly believe that we should approach this with public health policy standards and use scientific data to really get formalize what this event is, what this phenomena is, both in terms of getting as many people out of this situation as possible. Because if you understand it from that perspective, you can approach it with informed, almost a trauma-informed perspective, and use scientific literature to not just get these out, but these people have to move forward and live. Now, speaking of some of the data that you spoke about, the number of, and this goes for minors in the U.S., the last data is somewhere between 150 to 300,000. I think it's Institute of Medicine. That's a low figure that are at risk for commercial sex exploitation each year. Now, that skips the kind of things you just pointed out to, for example, a parent selling a kid, right? Or events that are, to me, when a neighbor or your uncle or your father manipulates your mindset and abuses you, that doesn't even fall into this, because we're only strictly talking about commercial, and you talked about the numbers their financial numbers in this. And what is some of the what is the root of all this? And we can look, and just speaking of normative childhood development, and you know this better than I do, normative adolescent development involves, and I point out to this stuff on TikTok sometimes, but you can only do so much in 30 seconds. Normal development really involves progression to independence from parents, okay? It involves how you formulate peer relationships, sexual experimentation, intellectual advancement from concrete to abstract thinking and judgment. It involves development of healthy impulsivity, risk-taking behavior, a sense of invulnerability. All of these things are supposed to be within the framework of developing a normal, healthy child into adulthood, which is the responsibility of the caretakers, people that let's call them the pimp or whoever it is, abuser or whatever. What these folks do, they have an understanding of this, and they prey on open adolescent vulnerabilities. And like you said, the number is 12 to 14 years old, and it places a lot of adolescents at risk, and some kids are at a very heightened risk because of family and community factors. And again, I think this stuff comes from the Institute of Medicine. When there's a history of maltreatment, particularly sexual abuse, there's a high risk of exploitation. When there's a history of dysfunctional family unit, for example, like you said, parental substance abuse or domestic violence, that puts the kids at a heightened risk. History of child protective services, that automatically puts somebody at a heightened risk. Alcohol, substance abuse, mental health disorders, all of these play a role in the kids' involvement. Runaway, homelessness, group home youth kids. What else? Poor supervision, poverty, lack of education within the family. Now, here's one that is also often missed, and that is basically neglect. And neglect is so subtle, and it starts so early on. So people that prey on this sort of thing understand the vulnerabilities of the youth coming up. And this actually are the same risk factors for substance abuse, anxiety, depression. Now it gets really messy, and substance abuse plays a major role, not just the type of person that is more vulnerable for this sort of situation, but also as a coping mechanism. Once this whole thing evolved, now you got this sort of feeding frenzy into the mental health of the person, coping, abuse, coping, which is abuse itself. And here we are in the worst situation one can imagine. And in fact, they have a term for it. It's called grooming. When these people prey on these in child sexual abuse cases, they call it grooming. It's all the same thing. And again, I want to add that there's a survivor exploiter dynamic that goes on, where this person really doesn't have a concept of what is normal, what is love, and you see a lot of personality disorder deviations coming from the same thing. These things are all so interrelated and so complex. It's crazy. and we can, and social media, which I won't even get into, but we can intervene. And I believe harm reduction and public health policy and approach with data would be our best bet. So, that's how I want to kick this off.
No, that was phenomenal. I actually was really, really listening to you, almost mesmerized with what you were saying, because there's so many different elements to this dynamic. It's not just one thing that you look at right here. It might be something going on here, but then you have to rewind the tape and go back to the beginning and look at it on a macro level, not a micro level. And there's just so many moving parts. I do want to say something. There's a few people on the side chat that have been sharing about it's a form of brainwashing. And I want to kind of just turn this into I want to bring some clinical component to this, because brainwashing is what the term is in terms of like, a layman terms, if you will. But I know there's some research. So Lenore Walker is a fascinating woman who created this thing called the cycle of abuse. Okay, so I think we can all agree that human trafficking is a form of abuse, and there's a cycle to this thing. And I'll tell you guys what happens here, because her work goes hand in hand with Dr. Seligman from the University of Pennsylvania in 1964. And they came out together with this phrase called learned helplessness. Okay, so you might be calling it brainwashing on this side, but I want to share with you what learned helplessness is, because if any of you watching this are going through this cycle, I'm going to actually lay out what you're experiencing to the T. And it's going to help you understand that what you're experiencing isn't just unique to you. It's in general terms happens in these circumstances. So anytime a relationship starts, okay, there's always different stages. So at first, it's like the stage where the relationship's really good. And the relationship's just two people meet, and especially when someone's trying to groom somebody, they're really, really over exaggerating the beginning of the relationship. They're trying to give a lot of incentives, a lot of rewards, a lot of ways to pull the person in. And then life happens and there's some type of tension. So maybe someone doesn't do something that we're supposed to do. Maybe something goes wrong somewhere. And after the tension, there's this thing called acting out. Acting out at first might just be yelling at someone, might be screaming at someone, might be physically hitting someone. And as soon as that happens the first time, the person that was abused says, screw this, I'm out of here, I'm going to leave. And the abuser says, hey, hold up a second. And they shower him with gifts. They tell him, please, it'll never happen again. I got you. Don't worry about it. And the person that was abused says, okay, I'm going to be all right. And then the cycle continues, because cycles always continue. Then life happens, tension happens. And as tension happens, acting out happens. But this time the intensity increases. So if it was a slap, maybe it turns into a punch. If it was isolating someone from their family, it's taking away their cell phone with them. And the person says, okay, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to leave. And what do? Shower them with gifts, shower them with love, affection, attention. And the person says, okay, I'm going to stay. And the cycle continues over and over until here's what happens, my friends, and you call it brainwashing. The individual, tension happens. There's some type of an acting out in form of abuse. And the person that was abused in this case, all of a sudden, something changes. They don't leave, right? They stay in the situation. And here's why, because the abuser says with or without the gifts, with or without the flowers, with or without the whatever, the person's not leaving, right? So that is called learned helplessness. And where this all came together from, Dr. Seligman in the University of Pennsylvania in 1964, there was an experiment completed, and they actually used dogs in this. And I'm a big dog lover, so for me, this is just different times, let's just call it. And it was related to finding out how this learned helplessness looks like, within creatures. And what was they had these dogs in experiment cages, okay? And, they go in the cage and they play with the dog. They love the dog. They hang out with the dog. And then they administer a little bit of electric shock. It's not to the point to really hurt the dog, but it's a little bit of electric shock. And what does the dog do in this case? They freak the heck out and they want to run for the exit doors. They want to get as fast as they can. However, the doors are closed, right? So they can't leave. And then the person goes in, they play with the dog. They love the dog. They play catch with the dog. They take a nap with the dog. The dog feels safe. And then what they do again is they administer a little bit more electric shock. And this time the dog freaks out, wants to run out, but they can't run out because the doors are closed. They continue the cycle back and forth, each time increasing the amount of shock. And here's what happens, my friend. So the brainwashing you're talking about, I want you to know that there's actually clinical research data on this. What they do is they open up the doors, okay? And they administer shock to the dog. And the dog does not leave. The dog stays because the dog is waiting for the payoff, the love, the attention, the care, whatever comes after it, right? And that state of mind is called learned helplessness. This happens to almost all of human beings that go through human trafficking. Yeah. They feel like, and by the way, they even take away their passports, their driver's licenses. They take away their identities. They make it really, really hard for them to leave. They threaten their family members. They'll prey on people that have sick and vulnerable family members, and the individual is forced to do certain actions because they don't want nothing to happen to their family. So they know, the people in charge of this stuff, they know exactly what they're doing, but this state of mind happens, and there is treatment for that. There are facilities that specialize in these type of things. There are social workers and clinicians that specialize in these type of things. They're few and far to come between. They're hard to find, but they're out there. And that's why I wanted to do this talk so much, because we need more. We need more out there. We need more services, more resources, more conversations geared in this. But so I really want to talk about that, because I can't just call it brainwashing when I know something deeper is happening. Yeah.
Thank you for that wonderful explanation. The person on TikTok asking who that is talking, that's Parham Nimatola. He's a substance abuse master's counselor. And you're also a family and marriage.
Marriage and family therapist.
Marriage and family therapist. We're on here every Sunday at 1:45 p.m. Come on the YouTube channel, ask him any question you have. And Blondie, we'll get you on in 1 second. Thank you for that awesome explanation. And I want to add a little something to this. Now, we're talking about something that's hardcore, straight up sex trafficking. But everything is spectrum, and this kind of abuse that you described, I want to give a thing. In the beginning, when you said they are just basically showered with that hole that they have in themselves, and looking for that sense of whatever it is, gifts or whatever. So what happens is when that's pulled away and they keep trying over and over, this is exactly what happens in substance abuse when you're looking for that chasing the dragon, right? That first dopamine rush. Number two, in another construct with a lot of abuse that happens in toxic relationships and personality disorders, this is called trauma bonding, right? And people will stay in a marriage, in a relationship forever, attempting to get that person to behave in the same way they originally behaved, but they were groomed for this long-term abuse. And over time, this corrodes and really starts to marginalize their mental health, their perception of reality, and so much more. So thank you for that explanation. Can I bring Blondie on, Parham?
Yeah, whoever you want.
Hi, Blondie. You got to turn on your microphone. It's off.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep, we can hear you.
Hi, Dr. B.
Hi.
Yeah, I've been on Suboxone or buprenorphine for 2 years now, and I'm really doing good. I'm weaning down. And, I just wanted to let you know you guys have helped me a lot with your channel through the last 2 years. I wouldn't have been able to get through it without it. And I had a question about buprenorphine for pain management, because I have a friend who I'm very close with, and she's a little older. She's 80 years old, and she's having different pain problems. And I live in Miami, Florida. And just wanted to know if you know anything about that, the buprenorphine for pain management instead of oxycodone or Percocet.
Yeah, I'll give you a real quick rundown on that. It's actually morphine equivalence wise. This stuff is excellent for chronic pain management, especially if it's non-cancer, non-hospice, non-end of life. And it probably should have been used during the big explosion of the pharmaceuticals pushing all of the opiates. And this is someone, and it's a lot safer in the long run. She has to get evaluated by whoever it is, pain. And a lot of pain guys are not familiar with it. So yes,
exactly.
It is an amazing drug for chronic pain management. And in fact, I have quite a few referrals for that.
Do you help patients that are in another state? Or
I can legally, I cannot, but I do have a kind of a select group of patients that fly out regularly to see me and get their scripts because they weren't able to find relief in other states. Depending on their stability, they come every. Some would come every month, 2 months, or 3 months, and fly out for a visit and get their script filled. I mean, that's an expensive proposition. These guys can afford it and they choose to do so, but
yeah.
that's how I can do it.
Okay. Well, yeah. It's so far it's been hard for her to find somebody that knows about prescribing that for pain management. So
They're out there. Have her keep looking, and she's in Miami. There's got to be somebody out there that understands the mechanics of this, and we thank you for actually watching our channel. We're very happy it helped you out.
yeah. Well, thank you very much, and thanks for everything.
Okay, our pleasure.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Blondie. Yeah, this is heavy stuff, man, and I fully believe that to address all of it, we have to change our approach to all of these issues into a public health harm reduction, compassionate, professional, and scientific view. We also need to start educating clinicians, physicians, and especially your people, because they're the ones that are going to have to do the meat of the work here to get these people back to where they need to go. And that's my thoughts. Should I get Nicole on?
Sure, yeah.
Hi, Nicole.
Yeah. Hey, Dr. B. Hey, Parham.
What's up, Nicole?
I wanted to come on here and, first of all, share a little bit about my experience with just what you said, learned helplessness.
Yeah.
I was in a relationship when I was in my active addiction for about 6 years. And the first 2 years, this guy basically didn't show any of his true colors. But after those 2 years, he started hitting me. I'm talking beating the living dog poop out of me, bouncing my head off the concrete. I had to get 10 stitches in my forehead because he split my head open. It was a whole hot mess. And do you know that I would not leave him? I would not leave this man. And my dad would literally beg me, Nicole, please don't, he's going to kill you. He's going to kill you. And I did not understand. He would say, my dad would call it battered woman syndrome. But in my mind, I thought he would change. I kept giving him second chances, thinking that it would be different. And then it turned into this point where I felt like I didn't deserve any better, and that maybe I deserved to get beat like that. Maybe it was because I was getting high so much and I wasn't bringing him home drugs and sharing them with him. You know what I'm saying? I started blaming it on myself. Sure. The only way I was able to get free from this man was he left me. He cheated on me and never came back one day, and I would have never gotten away from him. He probably would have killed me. But thank God he left me, and now he's dead. He passed away in a drunk driving accident. But yeah, I thought that I deserved it, and I would literally take these beatings and then cry for forgiveness, begging him to forgive me when he just beat me down, Yeah,
it's the manipulation and distortion of reality. That's what it is. Reality gets distorted to the point that you believe the reality that you're in, but it's a secondary byproduct of the abuse that's going on.
Yeah. And now, I even now that I'm married to my husband, I always have this weird kind of when if we have a disagreement, I almost feel like, oh my gosh, is he gonna get mad at me? And but my husband's never done that, but it's kind of this uneasy fear, And the young lady that I was trying to help that ended up passing away, she was in so deep in this situation with this guy, and he is literally coming after people that were related to her now. and trying to extort them for money. And when I tell you guys, this girl, I help hundreds of people. Y'all know I get phone calls all the time. There was just something so special about this girl. I mean, she was amazing. She had the best personality. If she could have gotten sober, and this is the sad part about it, she was in a treatment center for one day, and it was like a Christian treatment center where they didn't have doctors or nurses. And I knew that it wasn't going to work out, but I was still encouraging her, right? She left the center, and then she went back to where she came from, and we had made an appointment with her with a Suboxone doctor in her state, because I was just trying, after he beat her up and did all this stuff to her and she couldn't fly out to California, I was just trying to help her any way I could. I was just dedicated to helping this girl. And so we found a Suboxone doctor that took her insurance, and she was going to go in for therapy and groups and get on maintenance medication. She had an appointment the next day, and that morning she overdosed and died. Yeah. And I'm telling you what, I have never in my life cried over somebody I never met, met in person. But it was just devastating to me because she was trying. She wanted to get better. She wanted to go to treatment. She was trying to get into treatment. And it's so sad. It just pisses me off. It makes me so mad. But this man had such a strong hold on her that up until the moment she passed away, he was texting her and demeaning her and telling her how she was worthless and she would never live without him. And I think in my mind, like, I hope that's not the last thing that she read or thought before she passed away, because I related to her story so much when we talked. And I just was wanting to help her so much,
Nicole, what happened on the day that we thought she was going to fly out?
The day that she was going to fly out, he found out that she was talking to me. And he took her phone, took her money, and broke her ribs. And then she got scared and kind of, started backing out of the situation. And then I started helping her, try to find an alternative, because she didn't want to leave. Her daughter was in Virginia. She didn't want to leave her 3-year-old daughter and not be able to see her. And I was, encouraging her and letting her know that no matter what, if she came to us, that we would allow, she would be able to see her daughter. But it was such a complicated situation with her still talking to him, because I would get through to her. And I know she was hearing what I was saying and she was willing, but then he would come to her and threaten her and hit her and all this stuff. And so it was like I was fighting this battle between her, like, having her mind in the right spot to make the good decision. And then he would grab her and then he would give her all the drugs and just demean her and hit her and beat her. And so this was like a 3.5-week process, just doing this back and forth.
Yeah, this is it's heart-wrenching to also think we're so close. But one additional thing that we haven't, and Cindy, I'm going to get you on here in a sec here. One additional thing we have not even pointed out to this is all of these people in general, they're also at an increased risk: HIV, hepatitis C, sexually transmitted diseases. What's that?
Pregnancy,
yeah. And then pregnancy, and it's nauseating. This is a horrible thing with this gal, and I know you put in 1,000% on her, and it's just how it goes, Nicole. It is absolutely heart-wrenching.
Nicole, you want me to tell you something that helps me? It's not going to make losing a human being any easier. I'll tell you that. Nothing ever will, and I don't think anything ever should. I'm really wary of the ones that get desensitized to human suffering and people passing away in this field, because if the day that happens is the day that you're missing the boat of why we're doing this. But I will tell you something that helped me out, because I used to I saw the pain in your eyes about, what was the last text message, or, what was going through her mind the day this all happened and this and that. And I used to beat myself up really bad when these events would happen and people would pass away, and I would go through the tape and see if I could have done anything different and should have done anything
Yes.
different and all that kind of stuff. However, someone told me, a wise man told me once, he said, be really wary when you take too much credit for the ones that make it, because if you do that, then you got to take just as much credit for the ones that don't. And it was really good advice for me because, you know, a lot of times we all have success stories and it's like, hey, look at so-and-so came through. We helped, you know, get their life around. They got clean and sober there or whatever. They're in a better mental health space. And, you know, we'll take that kind of that pride with it. But then by default, I'm opening myself up that when the next person passes away or overdoses, then I have to look at my part there too. So what I do is this, and this is what hopefully the path that you're headed on is, I treat everybody with consistency. I treat everybody with unconditional positive regard. I do my best in every interaction. And whatever the outcomes of that is what the outcomes of that is, you know, and I can look at myself in the mirror and say, I know I did my best. And as long as I could do that on a day-to-day basis with every interaction with every human being, I don't know what happens when they leave the office. I don't know what happens tomorrow, a week from now, this and that. I have no control over that, but I have control over each interaction I have. So I'm kind of giving you permission to release yourself of that guilt whenever you want to, I guess. Hold on to it as much as you need to, but let go of it whenever you want to and it doesn't serve you anymore, because you did everything you could have done for that human being and their family, and the same way you've done it for the ones that have made it. So there's no difference there.
That's a great piece of advice, Parham. And I'm going to add one more thing to that in a different way. I think it just came into my mind, Nicole. I used to have a thing that I used to teach residents, and oftentimes you're in a situation where you have to make decisions and you do things that the outcome is statistically questionable. And as an academic physician, you have these things called M&Ms, morbidity and mortality. Anybody that gets hurt or dies under your care, you have to discuss once a month at a conference. And the thing I always try to teach, which really has to do with probability, and medicine is no longer practiced this way, but this is how it's supposed to be, is don't worry about the outcome. The only thing is, what did you do and why did you do it? So, which is really the same thing that you're saying is you did the right thing and everything you can do. The outcome is heavily weighed by some statistical probability, which in these complex cases, we don't know. Did you do the right thing? She did. And release yourself, Nicole. So I agree 100%. Let's bring on Cindy. Hi, Cindy.
Hey guys, how are you?
What's up, Cindy? We've seen you before.
You have. It's been a while. I'm taking a social media break. I think it's crazy when I start coming back on a little bit, and you guys are talking about this topic and bringing such attention to something that so many people don't. So, one of the things that I struggled with early on, and the reason why I waited until my mid-30s before I ever came out with my use, was because of exactly what you guys were talking about. When I was abducted and taken into my torture chamber for 3.5 years by my mother and my stepfather, for the first year, it was a lot of the grooming, the push, the pull, exactly what you guys are talking about, which created that trauma bond within me to them, because it was like they were teaching me how to give them what I wanted because I needed that love back, right? Super confusing, because one day I would be love bombed and the next day I would be the spawn of Satan, okay? So one of the things that really stuck out to me in this is I remember distinctly, I was a straight A student all the way up until my abduction. The first year and my life got flipped upside down. And one of the things that was part of their grooming process was, unfortunately, society didn't know how to handle it, right? So society sees me, all of a sudden I start skipping school, but they didn't know why I was skipping school. I started self-medicating, using drugs, hanging out with the wrong people. And unfortunately, friends and family saw a bad kid making bad decisions. No one ever questioned why I went from an athlete, straight A's, to completely off the grid. Never. And on the 2 separate occasions that I did reach out for help, both times I was sent back to my captors. And you want to talk about double the trouble. One of the questions I get the most, even as a 40-year-old woman, why did you go back? Why didn't you escape? Why didn't you leave? Because I didn't think anyone would believe me, and they didn't, unfortunately. And, you know, the questions were never asked, and I was scared out of my brains because the 2 times I did try to get help, I got sent right back. Yeah. And one was police and one was a school counselor. And I'm assuming they just didn't have the education to know what to look for. So they picked up the phone, called my mom. Hey, your daughter's here. Oh, she's just a liar. Drugs. This is what she does for attention. Oh, okay. And I'd get sent right back. But even to this day, even after all the therapy I have, you know, went through, the complex post-traumatic stress syndrome, continuing to put myself in those abusive situations, trauma bond after trauma bond after trauma bond. One of the things to this day that makes my skin crawl and is still even a trigger now is when people ask me, why would you ever go back? Why would you go back into the presence of your abuser? Why would you do that? Why would you pick up the phone and call them? And I think, well, I don't know. Why do I do that? Why did I do that? Was I asking for it? Did I control? Like, all these things come back to my mind of having to, like, have to defend and explain. Because when you go to somebody and say, well, I was in a trauma bond, they're like, what the hell is a trauma bond? So what you guys are doing is freaking powerful. And I just want to thank you from a person who has suffered this all alone my entire life. And this is the first time ever in the history of my 40 years have I ever seen anybody talk about trauma bonding and those hard questions. And I personally have found a healing today in watching you guys that I cannot even begin to describe. Because people really don't understand what trauma bonds are. And they don't understand that we as victims ask ourselves those questions every day. Why did I do that? Why didn't I scream louder? Why didn't I kick? Why didn't I fight? But no one understands how meticulous these people are at their grooming process and how patient they are at learning you and learning what they need to give and what they need to take in order to get what they want and what they need. So from the bottom of my heart, someone who has truly struggled with the freedom of that question my whole life, thank you for today. And, you know, yeah, drugs. Yes, I acted out promiscuously. Yes, I got pregnant young, but not one single person ever asked why. Why? Yeah. So what you guys today are doing is groundbreaking in the world of healing for victims. Because we sit in silence and in fear of those very questions that you guys are talking about today. And I can't thank you enough for bringing that out. And it's not easy. And it takes a lot of work to recover. And I think it'll be a forever recovering process for me, just one day at a time. But today I found a special kind of healing. And that's you giving the voice to a voice that I just felt like I was doing injustice, because you cannot explain it. You say the word trauma bond and people are like, they don't understand. But it's real and it's confusing and it just doesn't make sense. But anyway, thank you guys for bringing, I don't think it's an accident that today's the day I popped back on social media.
Cindy, don't leave. I have a few thoughts, but Parham, yeah, if you want, I don't know if you do. But don't get off, because I have a few thoughts about.
No, go for it first. I'll say a few things, but I'll wait for you. I'll go second.
So number one, it's extremely courageous of you to come up here and just to look at you. You're beautiful inside and out. I love your blue nails, by the way. They're pretty cool. But it's extremely courageous of you to come on here and you give it a voice. I think a lot more powerful than we could, because you bring reality up on the surface. But so that's that. But in addition to that, let me add to a few things that you said. You pointed out, you know, these people while they're grooming. Look, in that initial stage, a normal human being shares with their loved one in whatever capacity that is, whether it's a mate, parent, and what they're doing is they're not sitting there listening to become a part of you and share something. You're basically giving them information for later abuse, period, end of story. In fact, some of these personalities are not a personality at all. I would say they're not humans. They are just gathering information to really, really stick it to you later. And this whole cycle of sort of going back and so forth, I have noticed that very few people understand it, whatever the construct of the relationship of the victim was. Very few people understand it except folks that have experienced it. And that's just the nature of this. And hopefully there's more and more awareness over time coming. And what happens now when, you mentioned future relationships that were abusive, your promiscuity and stuff like that. Look, most of what we are, I firmly believe these positions are correct, is formed so early on. You have connections in your brain that define what is comfortable for you, healthy for you, normal for you. And if it wasn't healthy, you're going to have problems. So if you're attracted, let's say for your mate, to someone that is pathological for whatever reason that happened back there, and if a therapist comes up to you and says, or a friend says, you need to find a normal person, you're like, I don't even know what you mean by that. What do you mean? And I don't have any emotional attraction to what you're referring to as a healthy, it just doesn't register. And finally, for those out there that deal with people in this situation, and you said one day, one of the things that triggers you is when someone says, how could you? The worst thing a confidant, a family, a friend, or a stranger can do to a victim of this kind of thing when they are explaining it to them is to not validate their reality. It is brutal and it sets people off. And I know that. So when you said that, I heard that. So we got you 100%. Don't disappear. Stay with our channel and come say hi. I'll let Parham give some feedback. And thanks so much. You're a pretty badass for coming on.
Thanks.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that, Cindy. I remember last time you were on, you were talking about complex post-traumatic stress disorder and various things that you've tried. I remember you were really well-spoken. You had a lot of insight. You were in like a healing journey. So now I know the origins of the healing journey. I mean, I didn't know all this at that point. So it is one day at a time. Absolutely. But what I was most impressed with was the amount of like courageousness and like bravery in your voice when you were speaking. I mean, man, you're such a powerful woman. And I want you to know that. And I'm not just saying that to say it. I know I'm probably jumping ahead of myself here, but Dr. B and I know we're in the works to create some workshops. And one of the workshops, I know Dr. B, maybe we can dive deeper into this topic that we're talking about. And Cindy, I think you would be a perfect person to join us in our workshop and to be able to speak, because there's going to be women, men, human beings, adolescents, adults that at one point were adolescents like yourself, that when me and Dr. B can speak, we can speak all the clinical stuff and all the data and all that. But when you spoke, I mean, you spoke, and I heard you. Your voice was loud and clear. But there's a lot of people out there that need to hear you. And you're asking, the healing journey. One of the parts of the healing journey sometimes is being able to get our story out and having it resonate and connect to another person who has their story in. Because in that moment they feel like they feel valued, they feel heard, they feel not normal, but they feel like they can connect with someone that gets it, So I would love to stay connected with you, Cindy. I'm sure Dr. B would too.
That's a great idea, Parham. Go ahead. I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
No, it would add a layer to a workshop that we could do that could really help much greater reach, but also to bring home everything we're saying in a real life first narrative version of that. Because there's another thing too, by the way, when someone tells other people what's going on with them and people don't believe them, there's another phenomenon that happens. That human being starts to believe that they can't trust themselves either, because they can't trust their own thoughts and their own mind and what their experience is. So not only do they stop trusting others, they stop trusting themselves. And if you go through this world with 8 billion people, you know, going a couple 100,000 miles an hour in the galaxy, not trusting self or others, man, it's a tough experience.
In fact, you brought that up, and Cindy pointed out the experience that she had with, I think, police or twice. Twice she got sent back. That's another method. And, you know, oh, yeah, this is what I wanted to comment on. So nobody noticed all the crap going down and changes with you, which are basic red flags, oftentimes for substance abuse, for example, right? But again, so this brings something up. Those people that participate in this kind of thing, and in fact, that serial killer, I think he just got executed. Cops came over his house once. I forgot his name. He was in Detroit or something. A kid ran in the street. Cops came back. He's like, nah, he's just nutty. He's my lover or something. And then, what was his name? Whatever. But that's, you know, again, another example of this. But in the long run, these folks work hard. When it's in the open, they go out there and, you know, in certain worlds, they call them flying monkeys. They call them recruits. They're out there disseminating information, minimizing your reality, and the real problem. So it's almost, you want to know, I don't know if you are a reader, the author, Kafka, and, you know, people often, this is very Kafkaesque, Kafka's Trial or Metamorphosis, right? The guy wakes up one day and he's on trial, and and it's not reality. This is Kafka's nightmare, right? And this stuff is so insidious, so all pervasive, so subtle that attention needs to be brought to it. And also, when you mentioned the police, let me tell you this, at least in the US, in this country, whether it's the criminal courts or the family court system, they're about a couple of centuries behind in this situation. And many jurisdictions don't even recognize these issues as an issue. And at least in the family courts, how it affects the children, their concept is, well, let there be harm and then I'll act. And you're sitting here saying what is happening is going to set up this kid for ADHD, substance abuse, cutting, defiant personality, anxiety, depression, smaller brain size as the kid comes up in comparison to his peers. Please stop this. No. So you are not crazy. You are just against a crazy reality. And you, where all these folks. So, and Parham, I love your idea about, I don't feel I have expertise in this. I can talk forever, and I'm a professional, but you know, bringing you on and Cindy would be fantastic. Let's explore this. Cindy, make sure you stay in touch and with Nicole, and don't disappear.
I definitely will. And you know, one of the places have continued this is, I truly believe that if one person, if my story and my experience could help one young boy or one young girl not feel completely alone, I would redo it all over again, because there are so many people that don't understand the intricate details of that type of abuse and the use and all of those things. My higher power wants to use. If I can help one person with my story, I would do it all over again, as traumatic as it was, because I do feel like I'm getting stronger every day and I'm healing through it every day, and I'm not using substances to cope. So, yeah, I'll keep in touch.
Thank you so much, Cindy. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Cindy.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. Wow, she's a badass, huh?
Yeah, she's cool. She was really good last time too, but this time she just really showed where that strength and courage and resiliency comes from. You know, I know most people that are that, like, you know, they're that strong with certain things that, you know, they got strong somewhere. Life gave them a test that they had to figure out a way to overcome.
Yeah, I've never understood Parham. Maybe you can treat me. I've never understood why this topic, in general, the topic of an individual being helpless and not heard, is just something so triggering in me and powerful and emotionally driven, where my response is not clinical. I feel like my response can be knee-jerk. I eventually get. I don't know where it came from. I just have a really difficult time dealing with this stuff. Always have, it's just when I hear, I have a lot of work to do today, and just hearing her just drains me emotionally. It's taxing on me, and I shouldn't admit this, but I want to be authentic and real. It's just something. And when I look back, it's been going on for so long since childhood. I really, I think it's not that I'm the greatest guy in the world, but my whole life's work in any of these fields have been driven by this idea of helping the helpless victims. I think that's a good way to describe it. Helpless, unrecognized victims. And I don't know. It's just it's taxing on me. Let's go. Hey, TikTok. Hey guys, I see you guys on there. Please get on the channel. Ask some questions. It's Dr. B Addiction Recovery. Me and Parham Nematola. I keep seeing you guys talking, and I can't see because I'm old and blind. Get on the channel. Dr. B Addiction Recovery. Ask some questions or just say hi. Okay, you need to know about Librium. Get on here and ask. You got one shot here, and I'm on for a limited time today with Parham. Okay, get on here, guys, and do everybody please subscribe and like. I'm kind of into that now. All right, let's see. Parham, what do we got here?
Let's see. If anybody wants to pop up, feel free to. If not, we'll just look and see what we have there on the side. I've been the same way as you, by the way, just because you talked about how you've been your whole life. I always had like this pull, gravitation to like help. It was just odd from the time that I was little. I remember one of my vivid memories was I was about 6 or 7 years old. We went to Las Vegas for the first time with my mom and dad. And I protested and I stopped going into the casinos and started crying and just like sitting on the ground. Like, what the hell are you doing? And I said, man, there's all these homeless people standing around these streets. There's all these people that are struggling, and everyone's going inside these places and throwing their money into these machines and wasting it. And why doesn't somebody go help these people? And my mom was like, what's wrong with you, kid? But it was like a feeling that I had that was so strong. And it was, and I'll never forget it because it was like, I couldn't make that up. It's not like someone was teaching that to me, and it was, but I've always had that feeling, until this moment that I'm talking right now. I'm glad you have that in you. And I do believe that people could tap into that. It's just when they get out of their own selfish wants, desires, and kind of look and see we're all a part of something connected to each other, trying to live the same life to the best of our ability. And we're not different and, better than or less than and all that kind of stuff. It allows us to see each other's humanity. We all have it in each other's eyes.
Yeah, and it's interesting you just told me that story, and I got a feel like this, which I was just telling somebody and exploring this about me. But, that actually brings up another thing that you described. I've noticed people that have or do suffer from substance abuse, and you actually have a history of that. And this is something I briefly mentioned in TikTok, and they are some of the most sensitive, and what I mean by sensitive, not sensitive like your feelings get hurt, but sensitive to reality, right and wrong, and what's going on. They're some of the most sensitive individuals I've ever seen. And if I was going to do a cartoon sketch of substance abuse and growing up, I would say they are so sensitive, and they come up initially thinking, I always think of it as everything I ever needed to know I learned in kindergarten. I've seen that book. And so, okay, so you learn it, then you're coming up, everything that's close to you and everything around you is absolutely the opposite of that. This creates a lot of dissonance, emotional and psychological. And I think one of the things that people resort to cope with that emptiness because of it is substance abuse. And you just described, that very few people, I think, have that sort of event or experience so early on. And it explains a lot with you. It's interesting.
I just saw a question here. This is 100% for you, but I'm just curious if you know it. If someone said, ask Dr. B, has he ever heard of You got to read this. This is
what time?
It's the very last comment, 253. It just happened right now, but it might be interesting for you because you don't get to answer too many medical questions.
Yeah, I'm not just so you know. Yeah, of course, I've treated it. It's very, very painful, and it's been years. But yeah, I've seen a few cases of it, Vicky.
Vicky's a nurse, I believe, so that's what she was asking. I think.
I'm sorry.
I believe Vicky was a nurse. I saw a comment somewhere earlier. She was saying she was a nurse. So
let's look up.
Yeah.
She's a nurse?
Yeah, 37 years, I believe.
What time was her first comment?
Vicky, she was giving a shout out to Cindy about how much she learned from her. Her first comment that I saw was 244.
Let me see. $244?
Yeah.
Oh.
And Cindy, if you're still there, look what a beautiful thing she had to say to you. She said that you're very well articulate. I thought she's talking about us at first, but then I realized she wrote that comment when you were talking, Cindy. She said you're very well articulated, strong, and absolutely an asset to this team. So having you on our team for maybe a workshop or something, we're considered lucky to have you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Cindy. I mean, Vicky, I do know about the disease and I've seen it in my past life, but not in my present career. Okay. Where are we? I see our pharmacist is here. Hi. Misty's here. Hi. Alex from Serbia.
Oh, she's going through it, I think. Based on Alex, she says she's unable to come on and talk, but based on 4 or 5 of her comments that I saw, Alex, thoughts and prayers with you. Stay strong. I know it seems like you're going through some family stuff at home, domestic stuff. The only thing you can control in those moments is yourself, your health, your attitude. Control your side of it and do the best you can at that.
Okay. All right. Let's bring Abhay on, Kumar. Hi, Abhay.
Hi, Dr. B. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
What's up, man?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys doing?
We're good, man. Did we have you here last week too, right?
Yeah, you had me here last week.
Yeah, I remember. Sweet.
You sounds better. You sound good. How are you?
Yeah, I feel much better now. Talking to you last week really helped me. And I wanted to continue with that recovery. So I thought I'd come in, pop by, say hi again.
Yeah, you sound, I've been doing this so long. Your voice is so much stronger and you sound much better. Everything going okay with you?
Yeah, everything was going all right. Then I had a relapse like on Friday. But then I didn't just consumed what I had on Friday and then I didn't go buy again. So I'm continuing on that codeine, wean off for my opioids.
Are you still living at home?
Yeah, I'm still living with my guardians, my mother.
Okay. Let me, if I may, I just want to give one little piece to you to think about because you mentioned relapse. That's a big thing in this country. I don't know what the perception is out there in India, but it's a big thing. And because of 12-step programming, and I have nothing against 12-step, it's not what I do, but there's parts of that that really makes day counting a big deal. So that's fine. I always ask people, how long have you been clean or what's your cleanest period time? They try and give me these exact days. And I'm like, I don't care about exact days. I want to get it from you for different reasons in planning my treatment. And what happens is this: there's such a strong sort of leaning on this idea of being clean a certain days and then using, it's called relapse. And then what happens is I find that that event is so demoralizing, can be so demoralizing, it could itself affect somebody's recovery in the early stages or in the late stages. In addition, traditionally, what I have seen in some pockets is no matter where a patient is at in their recovery, when they use, it triggers this nonsensical chain of events that all is lost and you got to start from the beginning, and they push them into detox. Now, I see some changes and some progressive evolution and thought with that, but I want to tell you, it should be called, depending on how long you've been clean and what you've achieved in your peripheral world, an episode of use. If that continues, it becomes a full-blown relapse, which affects everything. So when these things happen, here's what I want you to think. Whatever clean time you had before that, and if this event happens, I want you to realize this. During that clean time, you allowed the neuroplastic changes in the brain to occur where you were making good decisions, minimizing impulsive behavior, and using rational thought to get through your life. As you're doing this, new connections and neural architecture is developing. So when this event happens, it should be considered the rule, not the exception. And it doesn't mean I'm giving it.
You're very right regarding that whole episode of use thinking, because I had to deprogram myself from that all or nothing thinking that one gets when one relapses. So like I was clean for a year before starting again. I started again during the lockdown. So just as the lockdowns were ending, actually. So when I started again, my brain instantly hit me with that you've lost your streak, and you must do, you can, if you've already done it once, what's the point? Like, you can do it again and again and again. It's not really that heavy of a decision once you have had an episode. So I've had to deprogram myself with that thinking. I don't think that way now. I don't even keep tracks of the day I've been sober. I just think of like, this week I was sober, and this week I was sober, and then this Friday I did something, and let's try not to do that again. That's my thinking.
Excellent. All right, so you described the perfect outcome of that. Parham, I don't know if you have anything to add, but
yeah, I just real quick, I just want to touch on the topic of quantity versus quality, and I'll tell you what that means. So be less worried or consumed with the quantity of the days meaning days without substance use, and be more concerned with the quality of the days. You always want in life to have better quality days than a bunch of just days clean. You know, a year, for someone having a year clean, but not making any progress in their life, not experiencing satisfaction, joy, not, pursuing some personal, professional goals, not, connecting with their families. If all that stuff doesn't happen, that 1 year doesn't really mean that much, man. So have good quality days. So someone just said right there, hey, Friday's gone, tomorrow's another day. Absolutely, man. If we dwell on what happens, doesn't sound like you're doing this, by the way, but if you dwell on what happened yesterday, by default, you're going to lose and miss the opportunity to have a good day tomorrow, right? And it's all about having good days, putting good days together. And the other metaphor that I have for anyone watching this, I always use life as a metaphor of like a road trip. In any road trip, if we've ever gone on a trip that's, a bunch of days long, you get to a certain point in the road trip that you have to pull off the side of the road, maybe go in a motel, sleep for a night, get back on the road. And as long as you get on the road, on the same path towards the same destination, you're going to continue to make forward progress. And that's kind of like an episode of use. You just pull off and get right back on the same road. A relapse is when you're driving down a road, you get off the road on the exit, and then all of a sudden you get back on a completely different road and go in a completely different direction, wondering why the heck am I not getting to where I want to get to in life. So that's the best I can add for my distinctions on those two things. But
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
You're very right. If you relapse and you get into that all or nothing thinking, it's like another detour. If you continue that road trip analogy, it's like you're going to New York and you ended up in Florida.
Yeah, I love that. And Obey, keep coming on and share your trip with us. As you know, we can't give medical advice, but we are happy to support you and give peripheral global thoughts on things. And we want to watch you recover through all of this, and whatever is going on, please continue to join us.
Okay, one more little thing I just wanted to add for all my fellow people watching out there, addicts or not. It's just that learn from the people you are living with. So, like, if you are addicted, you're doing some substance with a group. The group will not be like, yeah, continue on, do this shit, like, do harder drugs and harder drugs. The people, if they actually like you, they'll tell you to stop it because drugs can ruin lives. So, listen to the people who look out for you. That will be the best thing, I would say.
Absolutely.
Thank you, man.
That's great advice. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be back next week.
Okay, we look forward to it. I'm so happy to hear him doing well. Let me get him off. Hey, guys, look, I see a couple neat things up here. One is
you could probably take his comment off the screen too.
I'm going to try right now.
Good luck.
I would love to see Layla because I want to make a couple of comments. And she's in London. And Layla, just so you know, my family are pathological Anglophiles. I'm not, but I come from that. But anyway, come on. I want to ask you a couple of questions if you do so. And I also am interested in Steph G. I think I know Steph, but there was some comment earlier on. Layla and Steph, if you guys pop on here, don't be shy. I have a couple of interview style questions I want to ask you from some comments you made. I see June Dempsey here. June, we love you. I haven't talked to you for a while, but I know you are kicking ass. There's our buddy, the Karen pharmacist. Oh, did you say? Yeah. So this was by accident that I saw this. So if you got pelvic floor issues as a female, that's a very particular, unique, and specialized gynecological issue. And there are physical therapists that specialize in that. And I do know one. This was just a little side thing I saw. But yes, June, you can come on and say hi. And like I said, I want to ask Layla a question because there's a couple of things, if she's okay with it. And then Steph G, she asked something and I can't remember. Okay, let's keep moving.
I think Steph just said she's going to come on without her face, which is okay. And then I think Layla said ask away. So they're just kind of responding on the side.
Yeah, Layla or Steph, come on without your face. And Layla, I'd love it if you popped on, and you don't have to show your face if you're not comfortable. I like it better because I'm a clinician and I have to see, feel, and touch, but that's up to you. I'm an old school clinician. Let's see. Do you see anything, Parham? I got to give the control.
Someone's saying, how do I come on? They'll come on. I think we're going to get one to pop up right now.
Oh, yeah. Just ask. Yeah, it's easy to come on, guys. Ask Nicole. She's on there, Real Talk Recovery. Nicole, will you help these ladies out? I'm streaming down here, Parham. We're getting, hey, TikTok, come on over on this side, guys. How often do I go live? Every Sunday, 1:45. Parham, Nimatola, and myself are live on this channel. And if you want to, Glenn, pop over and we are happy to answer any question you have. And it's a real treat because we have Parham with us, and he really knows his shit here on this stuff. So pop on here. Layla, yeah, they'll find you. They'll help you get on. Let's see, who else? Oh. And just another comment on this issue of until someone comes on, Parham. We were talking about sex trafficking of minors, and all that. And really, the way this should be approached is not only public health, data driven in terms of policy, and in terms of the overall approach to this needs to be multidisciplinary. It has to be a collaboration. This is the best way to do anything for these very hardcore, complex, long-term traumatic things that can pop their head years later. Whether, if you need to include child protective services, law enforcement, local, state, federal, social workers, educated, mental health, medical, and all community providers should be stakeholders in this, because we are dealing with our future. So, I just wanted to add that. And we have Layla on.
You might want to get Steph's question. Okay, there you go. All right.
Hi, Layla.
Hello, babes. You all right?
Hi.
You're in London?
Hiya.
How
I am indeed, yeah.
How's the weather out there?
Yeah, it's been all right lately. Yeah, it's been all right lately. Not too bad.
Can I tell it?
I'm always watching you, by the way, on TikTok, and it's
nice, cool.
Yeah, I'm honored to talk to you because you're great. I think you're brilliant.
I appreciate that. Can I tell you? Parham? Can I tell you guys a little story?
Ask away.
One named Layla. For the Eric Clapton song, Layla.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, you know who that was about?
It was about oh god, somebody else's wife.
I think it was. I think it was the drummer's or somebody's girlfriend or wife that he was in love with or something. Yeah, that's what it was. And interestingly,
right.
One of the, I wouldn't call her my first love. It was a traumatic experience. A girlfriend of mine in college, her name was Layla, and with the Leila, and she actually, I think she moved to London. I don't know. So that kind of perked my, yeah. Anyway, so I saw something on the side. You said there, you talked about, you said, I think BPD. Let me see what she wrote. Okay, I'm going to put it up. Can I do that? I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Counting the days. I have ADHD and BPD. I'd never remember anyway. And I get, then now, is it okay if I ask you a couple of questions? Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, you can. Yeah, of course.
And I guess there's a history of substance abuse as well, huh?
30 years, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we ask what substances?
Yeah. Well, when I was a teenager, it'd be speed and acid, and then but basically from the age of like 20, I'm 52 now. From the age of basically about 21, it was heroin and crack, and then I came off of, and then I've had so many times in detoxes. 3 times in rehabs, 1 time completed, and 1 time I never ever did they win, but did they work. However, I did learn something every time I went. You know what I mean? I picked up something every time I went. A little thing here, a little thing there. And so that I've got a lot of, I understand about addiction a hell of a lot, and I'm really good at giving advice, but I just wish I could take it myself,
I get it.
I've actually
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I've actually put on because I haven't got loads of on TikTok, so I haven't got loads of, I've been doing it long, or I'm just not, what is it? It's not. I'm just. No, it's not about being the technophobe. I've been on TikTok, but I've asked a question and nobody got back to me apart from my personal friends, and that was, but by the way, should I just tell you where I'm at the moment, right? In all honesty, yeah. So I've oh shit, this is the other thing, the ADHD. I go on and off. Right. So where I am now is I'm on called something. It's like Suboxone. Espinol. Do you know Espinol?
No, is that it's just
It's in
another
London, but
addiction?
it's
There's so many different brand names, but yeah, it's like Suboxone.
exactly. But it's yes, exactly. Yeah.
Um,
And
how's that working?
that's what I'm on now. And I
Go ahead.
well, it worked. It worked really well about for 5 years. It took me because of all the time being on methadone and gear and having a crazy life. Then finally, I was crying, and my son said to me, he said, "Mum, you've got to go back on a script." I'd just come out of detoxes again, and you've got to go back on a script. I said, I can't. I said, I'll tell you what, I won't say my son's name. If I go back on the script, I'm going to die on methadone. That's my life. I'm going to die and add it. And he said, well, try the other thing. What's the other thing called? Suboxone. I said, you know what? I'm really scared of that. He said, just try it, Mum. And he done me a really fucking great favour because I did try it. But this time, it took me a long time to come down. And the only and once I was on, so I had to come down off the it was just heroin I was on, not methadone this time, but come down off the heroin a bit, then swap over to the Suboxone, and that was where the pain was. That was the only kind of withdrawals I got. That's what was really mad. I was expecting that when I actually come off of it, that's when it's going to hurt. Yeah, so I was, because you had to wait till you was really, really ill and clucking, and you had to go daily to the chemist, and it's like, oh my God, this is going to be a nightmare. But that I had about 3 nights of no sleep, and it wasn't a full-on cluck because I knew that any day soon something's going to help me, kind of thing. Withdrawals, I mean by cluck, and anyway, and I had to just do these groups once a week, or no, once a fortnight, and just very, very slowly over 2 years had to come down until basically I just couldn't wait to come off. And I thought I still had another 2 weeks to get my last Suboxone, and they said, no, that's it, Layla. I said, what? No, a lot of people would be like, you're joking. And I was like, are you kidding me? That's brilliant. Do you know what I mean? Woo, I know you've done it. I've done it.
Good for you.
And so I was a little bit concerned about sleeping that night. So I didn't even get to sleep this night. Couldn't believe it. But I stayed off of Class A's for the crack and the heroin for 5 years. However, I was a DJ before, back in the early 90s, and I got back into, like when you come off the gear, like you really do feel like you're the age that you started using. You really go back to that teenage. Like yay, freedom again. It's like and I've always loved music anyway, and I really did. I felt like a 24-year-old, but much wiser and lived much more. But I have in them 5 years. I'm afraid I did use ketamine, not like continuously, but it would be like like I might have a line of speed and I might have ketamine, but for a little while I was having ketamine a lot, and then I've basically I've fucked up recently on, I can't believe it, crack. And I really thought I would never fucking touch that again. It's since this lockdown. I tell you, I was getting my life, you know what I mean?
And are you addressing that
That's where I'm at.
Oh, well, so it sounds like an incredible journey, and I want to make sure you're addressing the crack. But let me
Are you there?
ask you, and I want Parham's feedback on this. I
It's
noticed
gone quiet on me.
history of
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us? Can you hear me? We got some.
For me? I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. Parham, can you hear me?
Got some.
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, good. So that sounds, and I'd love to get to know a lot more about this, but I also noticed the borderline thing and the ADHD. Now, the borderline thing, when did you, was that something you initially self-diagnosed? Are you getting treatment for that? How is that all working out?
No.
No. Go ahead.
Antibiotics. Oh, sorry, not antibiotics. Antidepressants. It's crap.
I missed that. Parham, did you catch
No,
that?
I have antidepressants.
Oh,
yeah. And for the ADHD, I don't. This is fairly recently that they've. It was about probably 2 years ago that I got the letter that the psychiatrist had sent to my doctor, and then they send me that letter as well, and it was saying shows signs. Because I'd been going for counselling, and I'd seen the psychiatrist. But it has it kind of looks like it's. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So I think it was about 2 years ago.
yeah. Okay. Now,
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
We're losing her.
I wanted your feedback on something with Layla. Can you hear us?
I can't hear you. Are you there?
Maybe just put her off the camera and then we could just talk about her case.
I really wanted to say something about that as well.
Okay.
Sure.
I don't think they can hear me.
Okay.
Can
you hear about?
I wanted to say about the counting the days, in which he's just pointed that out. You know. Oh bollocks!
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Go ahead and say it.
I can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ish.
What? Oh, Layla, this is horrible. I'll tell you what.
I can hear you now. Can I say one thing, please?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
One thing.
Yeah. Say it.
One thing. I just want to speak one thing.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
No.
Yes, we can.
I'll try and speak. I see on TikTok I see on TikTok constantly from people about the daily. I'm 2 days, I'm 10 days, I'm 2 months, I'm 1 year. Okay. Don't worry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Right. So, as you said about the counting the days, I mean, I could not do that. Yeah, I couldn't do that, and I wonder why everybody else does that. Cool. But I wonder why everybody says, I am 1 day clean. I am so many days clean, and I just agree with everything you said about. I mean, I've never been into the 12 steps, but throughout my times when I was, doing better. But no, I couldn't even remember the day. I can't remember what bloody day it is usually.
I'm glad you that works for you, Layla. I want to get you back on here. We have a crappy connection. I want to thank you, but from both of us actually, that you came on and shared a little bit. I want to see where the crack thing is going right now, and I do maybe a little later, maybe next week. Keep coming on because I want to ask you some questions. And I'm sorry we got such a crappy connection.
Yeah,
But
no worries.
we appreciate you coming on.
Good.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Bye. I couldn't get her on the way I wanted to. I wanted to talk about the borderline and if she's getting mental health care for that. You know, they have National Institute of Health and Care Excellence. I always use their guidelines for over here for a particular reason. And she's a lovely lady, and I wish we could have explored what I was trying to do here, but we got.
I know you got to go too, but in general with borderline, I mean, what I noticed there, borderline usually it happens, let's just call it an early childhood development, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Maybe there's some attachment, maybe there's some abandonment, something going on that's deep rooted, that it's a pervasive pattern that's enduring over a span of a lifetime. So if it's a true borderline personality disorder, and I'm not saying if it is or isn't, as she started using substances and behaviors to cope with some of the deregulation of her emotions, to be able to kind of bring it down a little bit for 30 years, 40 years. I mean, this is a long-term using of substance use. And as soon as you stop using some of the substances, another substance starts to get used, because it tells me there's a lot of instability with ability to manage emotion. So that's where the work happens. Trauma-informed care, someone wrote there, absolutely love it. There's different modalities for trauma right now that are effective, from, you know, EMDR to brain spotting. There are a lot of ways to go at, but you said, you know, addressing with the recent drug use with the crack cocaine, that does make clinical components difficult, but she seems like she's been, you know, she's trying, she's on a healing journey. And I know someone that's diagnosed with borderline, there is some trauma in that life. So I root for you. Layla. I really want you to know that. And I hope you come back, and each time you come back, you're, ready to communicate and kind of let us know how you're doing in your journey. But yeah, it's always nice to connect with someone from London.
Not only is she trying, it looks like she has good insight on it. Yeah. I do want to make a comment on that borderline thing, that I think, you know, when you read DSM, you know, one of the things in there, it says, you know, there's an insecurity of a sense of abandonment that they have. And I just want to point that out, which we know very well. You know, we can read this and it says the word, you know, sense of abandonment or fear of abandonment. This is not, I'm worried about being abandoned. This is sheer terror that these guys experience, right? Or it says, you know, volatile relationships. It's not volatile. That wouldn't describe it. I would say volcanic event is what describes it. So they go through a lot. They have they can gain quite an insight, and she's pretty, she's battling a lot of stuff, and she seems like a really lovely lady, and I hope we get her back on here. We can hear. Joyce made a cool comment. Oops, sorry, Joyce. Oh, yeah. I just wanted to address this. I had a counselor tell me it was important to have a clean day. You know, I don't have any problem with having a clean date. I'm not saying forget about when you got clean. You know, always interpret what I say with on a spectrum. You know, if a counselor or therapist tells clean date, fine. But use that as a general, you know, the day I got out of the hospital after my whatever cancer treatment, sure, it's important, and I can set some you know, general goals around that, and I want to have a sense. I just think it becomes overemphasized as something that end all be all in itself. That's all, guys. Everything I say, there's nothing categorical about it. I'm just trying to de-stress or overstress certain areas where I see people can get in trouble. So I hope that helps, Joyce. Hey, Melissa. Same with us.
You did say you have to go at 1:30. Just by
yeah, I know. It's just so much. I'll try and push a few more minutes here. Guys, the last shot, a few more minutes. How can I avoid the cruelty of abandonment? Thor. We are. I am getting off in a few minutes. Parham, if there's anything you want to address on here, take a look. So we never got Steph on. I just something Steph. I felt like I needed to answer, but maybe next time, Steph.
Whoever was that a TikTok person that asked you about abandonment?
Yeah, it is.
Encourage them to come here next week because that topic could help a lot of human beings out.
Yeah. So, it says, "Oh, do you take medical student for clerkship?" Yes, I do. I'm affiliated with university, and I still have my professorship there, and I have a lot of students through there. Let me see who it was on TikTok that said that. I just saw it somewhere. I think it was a male. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. No. Okay. I found it. How can I? It is Thor. It says, "How can I avoid the cruelty of abandonment?" Thor, do me, Parham on the channel. I hope you can see him. He's definitely asking you, and I think he's absolutely right. Please come on here next week. Ask that question. If you can get on here in the next 3 or 4 minutes, I'll stick around so we can address this. Because Parham is right. This is important. So it's up to you. And then my son is typically not an aggressive person, but when he drinks heavily, he becomes aggressive. Okay. So, yeah, I'll give this a couple of minutes for someone to come on, guys. And others are not. I can answer that for you, too. I can't read this crap. Mdira, if you come on, it says she's asking, why do some people get aggressive when intoxicated and others are not? Hi, Jamie. This was great, Parham, and I love it. What are we going to do here? Hey, guys, we are, while we're waiting a couple of minutes, we are exploring on putting on some seminars, maybe for a year right now, giving you guys a couple of months heads up. It'll be an online seminar. You can join from anywhere in the country or in the world. There'll be probably an ebook associated with it, a couple of hours. The charge will be minimal. We're not trying to make a killing. We're trying to pay for the overhead, the staff. Just so you guys all know, all of this is funded by the nonprofit, and we fund all of this ourselves, including our time. Parham doesn't get paid for being here at all, and neither do I. But we're thinking about seminars. What else are we thinking about, Parham? We want to be able to give them feedback and get them on here. But let's. You've had some great ideas. So give me some thoughts.
Nothing. And the other option is, you guys are doing such a good job of being interactive, engaged. I know not everyone likes to watch videos. A lot of you might want to consume audio versions of this. And so we will have a Dr. B and Parham podcast here that I'm excited to launch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When is that coming up? Do you know?
Not sure. Hopefully soon. We're practicing right now. That's what we're doing.
Okay. Yeah. So Parham is working with our producers to put a podcast. Well, it's the same thing. It'll be in podcast form, and it'll be on multiple platforms, including Spotify and Apple. Is that what it is? Apple. Yeah. And that's it. And what else are we doing? That's it, guys. That's what we're doing. It was a pretty kick-ass day. Parham, is there any way where we can talk to Austin and a team at Royalty Pro if they can, Socialty Pro, if they can put this on the community thing where, I don't know, we, you guys think about it with Nicole, put up 3 or 4 topics, and we always move on to questions as soon as people are ready. But maybe early in the week, we start putting up some topics, and if it generates a vote, we will hit that topic and put it up by Friday night. We're going to try and do that in a more timely way. I wonder if that's possible. You think it is?
I think Nicole would be a good ally here. She's really connected to the social world, so she'll be able to ask the people what they want to hear, and maybe we could do our best to accommodate.
No, I mean, I meant Socially Pro. That's our productions team.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can put it on the community tab.
Sure.
Oh yeah, there it is. She's on it. Yeah, she's on it. Caring Farm. We should eventually bring her on for something because she's got a lot to offer, and we love your support as well. And I think I'd better go. That was awesome, man.
Absolutely, man. It was wonderful. I really look forward to this. I want you to know, Dr. B, I look forward to this, and everybody else watching this every Sunday. This is like a really cool thing to do, and it ties the week together. So thank you for allowing us to spend some time with you wherever you are in the world, and looking forward to doing it again next week.
Likewise. And Parham, Cindy really sort of got my juices flowing and even more excited about that particular topic. I know there's so much to cover, but she was maybe we can because you also know a lot about that issue at a clinical level, which is important. Maybe we can explore doing something more of that because it seems like so many people need it. And the guy on here that was, how do we join on YouTube? I don't. You just go on YouTube and put Dr. B Addiction Recovery, KZ. We are finishing up right now, though. Next week, 1:45 p.m. Oh, we're here, me and Parham, to do this. I know I got to go. I don't know why I don't want to go today.
I know you got to go.
Because these guys are, and they keep putting up these really cool comments on here, and it's messing me up. Yeah. So anyway, let's. I really the topic that we started to touch on today, and Cindy's input really got my thought on this because I have some. I have some stake in this personally in some ways, and the fact that the court systems in the U.S. are so behind. Let me add one more thing on this issue of the abuse of folks, especially in family courts. The UK and UAE have actually instituted changes in their family court laws and structure where the abuser will be held accountable in terms of children. In divorce and custody cases, which I thought is so progressive for them, and we're so behind. That's it. I'll be quiet. Okay, Parham, that was awesome.
All right, bud. Take care, everyone.
All right, guys, and so should I end the broadcast on there?
Yeah, end the broadcast here, and then I can sit back and chat with you for a minute if you want.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to end that now.